Here, is that original content that you're providing Wow Oh Wow, or you're just giving them stuff that you're already publishing on Truth and Aging?
So what they're doing is they say we're interested in this particular topic. We say, here's 5 things that we think cover that topic that we've done pretty well. Do what you want. And then they can go on and they can grab bits here and there, or they can grab one whole post, whatever it suits them to do. And so they, in effect, do more work on it than we do. With the first one that they said they got an additional 10,000 page views on that particular post, so they seem pretty happy. And they're now on their 3rd piece of content.
This is Marianne. I want to jump in for a second, just to add to what Marta was saying, because the reason that Wow Oh Wow is interested in what Marta has going on is because Marta, on her blog, owns her cultural conversation. So she owns Truth and Aging, and it's ultra focused, and it really does go back to what you were saying about the eyelash growth. But that's like a micro example of the cultural conversation that Marta owns. And as a literary agent, we were constantly talking to our clients about owning your cultural conversation and refining it down. And I've had some conversations with a number of bloggers here at Open Sky who are struggling with their branding, and usually it's a case of actually being too broad and wanting to do too many things.
Yes.
And there is that, and what Marta was saying about the 20% and pleasing the 20%, that's that Kevin Kelly theory of your 1,000 truest fans. If you are pleasing your 20% or your 1,000 truest fans, your base is going to expand from there. But that is the strategy. I think that a lot of the more general blogs, if they circle into the more specific things, they're going to find that growth is going to come from that, rather than trying to reach everyone.
Yeah, and it was a big decision for me because, we're not really covering, Clinique or Lancome or mainstream brands. And when I was starting out, some people would say to me, well, wouldn't you do a lot better if you covered, bigger names that everybody knows? And so, well, I do a little bit, and I did start to do a little bit more of that. But that's not where it's come from. Where it's come, unless you're first. And the other day I was first with the L'Oreal eyelash growth product. God, this is so embarrassing.
You own eyelashes.
Did I mention that? And when we just covered that before anybody else did, because I saw it advertised in the trade press ahead of time. And that, we see from Google that gets a lot of hits. But otherwise, we haven't really gone mainstream. We've kind of uncovered these long tail products that nobody else was really covering. And that's been our heartland. And it's created this, unique cultural conversation, I guess. Well, the only other thing I wanted to mention, because it's really important, is the way you write headlines or the titles of your blogs, because that's really what Google sees more than anything else. And I'll just get back to the lesson we learned at Hachette on that. Car and Driver, as I mentioned, was really struggling, and it only had 6% of its audience was coming via Google, so we knew we were doing some things that were wrong. And one of those was that they were taking a lot of content from the magazine. So say Toyota launched a new car, they would write a headline such as, what was it? It was brilliant. Detroit lays a golden egg. And that was the headline of this story about a new Toyota car. And obviously no one is going to be searching on Detroit or egg or golden if they're looking for a car. And so not surprisingly, that Toyota article was like page 20 of Google. I mean, it was dead. Nobody was going to go there. And we changed that headline to read Toyota launches the new whatever it was, and we went onto the first page of Google. And it was got a huge amount of resistance because people thought it was boring, and editors like to write things with puns and goodness knows what. But it gets you out there and it gets you found.
Someone here in the office was just marveling at the fact that the New York Times online, he couldn't match up the articles that were actually in the paper. It's because they're doing exactly what you talked about.
Yeah. And in fact, what the New York Times does a lot, and certainly it was the only thing they did at first because the editors resisted rewriting headlines so much, was that they used the title tag option. And a title tag is what appears right at the very top of your website page. And it might just say New York Times, or it can say New York Times, new Toyota launch. And even if your headline is relatively obscure or fun or full of puns or whatever it is that you want it to do, you can use that title tag to just be really specific and just say, this is the name of my publication, this is what this article is about. And if you use both, all the better. And WordPress, Linda, actually has a title tag option in the template. So as long as you've got that switched on, you can write your title tags in for every post that you do, and you really get a double whammy from Google for that.
Does anybody else have something to share?
And well, also I'd just like to ask people if they're not too shy about coming forward. I mean, is there anything that people just find really, really hard? I mean, it's all very well me waffling on about this stuff, but if you're sitting there thinking, I can't even do X,
Well, I find there's just so much to do. I mean, it's not just, I have 5 different writers, and I've got to edit what they do, and I've got to be blogging, and now you're telling me I got to be answering the comments, which I love hearing that advice, but it's just a lot, it's a lot of follow through.
Yeah, it is, and I don't really have an easy answer to that. I mean, I was bemoaning a couple of days ago to my husband that I'm actually getting completely out of my depth with what I can do now, and we'll just have to get somebody on board. I mean, I've got to.
Marta, how many people are on your team?
Okay, so I've got 2 part-time editorial assistants who I'm sort of training and seeing whether it's worthwhile for them to become full-time. I'm paying them $50 an hour. I'm going to kind of let it all hang out here so that you can get a sense of what it is. Usually freelance writers get paid about $100 a post, and I have 1 or 2 of those a week. About a third of the content is written by the audience, and I have somebody who used to worked for me full-time last summer, but now has a day job. But in her lunch hours, I pay her to do my Twitter and my Facebook. So that, just literally because I cannot do everything, so I'm getting somebody to do, some of those things. And I'm launching my second website fairly soon, which will be Truth in Slimming and Nutrition. And so I'm probably going to have to bite the bullet and take on a full-time person. I've actually got to the point, if it's just a couple of freelancers, the Twitter girl, and one part-time editorial assistant, I'm easily breaking even. So it's really a decision for me now is to sort of put a bit more of my own cash in to not break even and just get some full-time help to get it on to the next stage. And it's a choice for me as well now as to whether or not, is that an editorial person or a biz dev person? And I'm thinking maybe because the editorial voice is still so, wrapped up in me, that I continue to do a disproportionate amount of writing from my time, but I get someone to think about syndication, to think about our iPhone app, which is something else that we're doing right now, to think about the syndication to other websites, to think about what we should be doing in the shop, and more and more stuff around commercializing what we're doing.